Well, good morning. It's the appointed time, and we believe we have a quorum present. So let's begin by calling our meeting of the Citizens Advisory Board for MAPS 3 to order. And want to begin by remembering those that have been so negatively affected by the horrific storms of this week. We know that many lives have been changed, and we start by remembering them. And want to say a word of special thanks to the city staff. I know this has been a time when every person in our community has been called to help in some way, and the city has really responded in a very positive way. That's kind of a standard for our country, I think. And I want to say, and it's affected some of our own. As David, Carrie, Amanda lived there, kids in that neighborhood, and it's so none of us have escaped, and we want to remember Debbie Miller today, and her family especially. It's a sad day on which we meet, but we do have our meeting scheduled, so we're going to go forward with it. Want to begin by telling you that you'll recall that we asked the staff if they would prepare a resolution recognizing the service of Wayne Williams, and Mark Beck has been nice enough to get that prepared for us, and he's going to read it for us now. Mark?
Thank you, Tom. Whereas Wayne Williams was an original board member of the MAPS Citizens Advisory Board appointed March 30th, 2010, and whereas Wayne Williams was appointed by the mayor of the city of Oklahoma City and thereafter confirmed to serve as a board member by the City Council of Oklahoma City, and whereas Wayne Williams was employed by Oklahoma Natural Gas Company as an operations engineer, and whereas Wayne Williams was a board member of the Opportunities Industrialization Center of Oklahoma County, and whereas Wayne Williams was appointed as vice chair of the MAPS 3 Senior Health and Wellness Centers Subcommittee, and whereas Wayne Williams had a keen interest in senior health issues and a strong commitment to the betterment of the Oklahoma City public health, and whereas Wayne Williams performed his duties as a board member with excellence and in the best interest of the Oklahoma City and the MAPS Citizens Advisory Board, and he will be greatly missed. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the MAPS Citizens Advisory Board that they do hereby recognize and commend Wayne Williams for his fine contributions as a board member and subcommittee vice chair and for his valued public service. Be it further resolved by the MAPS Citizens Advisory Board that they do hereby extend their deepest sympathies to the family and friends of Wayne Williams, adopted by the MAPS Citizens Advisory Board and signed by the chairman this 23rd day of May, 2013.
I want to call on Gloria Griffin to make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept this resolution honoring the services of Wayne Williams to the MAPS 3 Advisory Board and to this community, and we adopt it unanimously.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We adopt this resolution unanimously. All in favor say aye. Aye. And Mark, you will see that is conveyed in an appropriate way to his family. Thank you very much. Well, to move into our agenda then, item 3, you have been furnished with copies, with copy of the minutes of our previous meeting in April. Are there additions or corrections to the minutes?
There is one correction, I believe, on page 2, item 5.
Yes. Go ahead. Tell us.
It reads that it was seconded by Williams, and I believe there should be another name there.
Yes. Gloria, did you second that?
I do not recall. But I just know that it reads that it was seconded by Williams, and I know that's not correct.
We'll get that changed.
Okay.
Thank you. With that correction, shall we approve the minutes? You want to move that again? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The minutes are approved. Item 4, David, you want to review the expenditure and revenue report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have in your packet the revenue and expenditure report in its usual format. This is for the period ending March 31st, 2013. Revenues for the month, we have a total of $8,388,638. Fiscal year, $79,426,555, for a total of $283,592.24. On expenditures for the month, you can see the various expenditures for each of the programs, but there's a total $3,309,284. For the fiscal year is $10,901,672. The total program to this period is $23,769,012. Be glad to answer any questions.
Are there questions? Michael?
Not directly related to this, but it prompts this thought. Can you clarify again, David? I frankly have forgotten on the projects and the money in the bank, kind of a pay-go system that we have for the capital projects. Does all of the money in the bank? Does all the money need to be in the bank for that project before it started?
Yes.
So, let's say the convention center or the park. So all of that money has to be in the bank
Before construction starts. We do the administration. It's phased in there, but we don't start construction until we have all the money.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Oh,
Excuse me, go ahead.
does that mean projects may be approved, but they would not start until the monies are there?
That's right. Construction will not start until the money is there.
My question has to do with the over and under the target number. Is there would it be possible to add a column that would tell us where we were over and under from inception to date?
I have that number for you. It's 4.7%.
It's what?
4.7%
Okay.
above.
Wouldn't it be simple just to include that as a footnote or something to
Okay.
this, so we know where we are, not just based on the month or this fiscal year, but where we are overall?
Okay, we can add that.
Thank you.
Okay, so 4.7 means that the revenues are coming in at a rate that is 4.7 above what was projected.
That is
for us
correct.
to hit our target. Okay. Are there any other questions? Then, let's see, we need to receive that report. Is there a motion to receive the revenue and expenditure report? Been moved. Is there a second? Been moved and seconded that we receive the revenue and expenditure report. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The report is received. David, item 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 5 is recommend resolution approving preliminary report for MAPS 3 Upper Downtown Public Park Engineering Services Project M3-P004. If you recall, the project for the park is done in many phases, and one of that is to deal with the utilities and the streets and the things that are there presently, and Johnson Associates is doing that. I'd like to invite Chris Savage up. He has a presentation for this preliminary report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Thank you. I'm Chris Savage with Johnson & Associates, and we'll be going through the preliminary report for the engineering services for the park. As David stated, the purpose of this project is to prepare the site for the park construction improvements themselves. At this point, we've completed a site investigation report, and with the preliminary report, we've done some impact analysis of the park. We've developed some schematic plans that we can develop some cost estimates and make some recommendations from. As part of our site investigation report, we looked at property ownership. We investigated the site right-of-way, the plat of the site, and investigated any easements. We prepared a topographic survey of the site. That's the digital file that will be the base for the park design. That's completed and being used by the park designers currently. We also completed a tree survey of the site, and that is also in the hands of the park designers, and they're using that to decide if any of those trees can be utilized or incorporated into the park design itself. Excuse me. The main focus of this project is examining the site utilities. that exist within the blocks there. As a matter of orientation, so you look at this graphic, north is to the left. So at the left side of the page is Southwest 3rd Street, and to the right of the page is I-40. To the bottom of the page is Hudson Avenue, and as we go up the page, you'll see Harvey Avenue, and at the very top is Robinson Avenue. So in this image, you can see all of the utilities that we found that are located in the street rights-of-way, as well as the alleys that go through the blocks there. When we overlay the site, the park master plan onto the existing utilities, you can see how the existing utilities relate to all of the proposed park components. So the grand lawn, the big oval there in the middle. You can also see the 3-acre lake, Union Station's at the bottom right-hand corner of the image, and you can see really how the utilities are really in the way of developing the park. As we carry on with this project, part of our charge is to relocate those utilities and get them out of the way so that the site is clear and can be developed as the park. And that's what you see here, is once our project is complete, you'll see that the vast majority of the park area has been cleared of those utilities. We've relocated them around the perimeters, and we'll walk through those here briefly. We'll start with the city's drainage. So this is the city's storm sewer that's in the site. The city has storm sewer in the streets. We're proposing a new storm sewer collector that's in Hudson Avenue and Southwest 3rd. That'll pick up drainage from areas north and west of the park. We're also proposing a new storm sewer collector in Robinson Avenue from Southwest 5th to Southwest 7th Street. Upon construction of those improvements, that'll allow us to abandon all the existing storm sewer that's within the park area. The city's public sanitary sewer is in the alley of all the blocks. Fortunately, we're able to abandon all of those in place and retain just a few of those in a way that will serve the amenities of the park. So the cafe, the fountains, those things, and we'll be able to make the most of those and not have to rebuild them to serve the park. The city has an extensive water distribution network, so the water piping through the park area. A significant and prominent feature of that is a 30-inch water transmission main. So that connects two of the treatment plants. It runs right through the middle of the park. Comes on Southwest 4th, down Harvey, and out on Southwest 7th Street. We're proposing to relocate that around the perimeter of the park, down Southwest 3rd, and further down Robinson. That will totally take it out of the park area. So the city won't have to get into the park to maintain it. We don't have any potential issues there as a liability for the future of the park. The city IT department has a small run that goes into the Union Station down at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. That'll remain unchanged. Looking at OG&E's electric utilities that are throughout the park, OG&E has an extensive distribution network which provides all the end users that are in there. They also have two significant features, one of which is an underground service line that goes through the park and some overhead transmission lines that go through the park as well. We've been working with OG&E on how those can be relocated, and negotiations and some studies by OG&E are underway to get those things out of the park. We'll clear those out of the park. Similarly, ONG has several gas lines through the park. They have some medium pressure gas lines. We're working to relocate those along Southwest 3rd Street, which will be part of the Boulevard project. Part of the park project will be a medium pressure line down Harvey. We'll get those out of the way, and they'll be able to abandon their existing facilities within the park. Telecom utilities. This map illustrates all the fiber optic lines. So that's underground and overhead fiber optic lines in the park. Again, we've worked with these utility companies to explore how they can relocate those, and work's underway again to reroute those around the park. Several of them will cross the park on Southwest 7th Street, which you can see just in front of Union Station to the right of this image. We're going to use Southwest 7th Street or that alignment for a utility corridor for utilities to cross the park where they need to. This image illustrates the street rights-of-ways and the plat, which will be vacated as part of this project. The diagonally hatched areas are the rights-of-way. That covers both the streets and the alleys. The gray shaded areas are the plats, so that's the platted lots and blocks that the building structures are on. All of those will be vacated through Planning Commission, City Council, and through District Court, so they're closed, leaving this as a contiguous piece of property for the park. It is strictly park property. We've also looked at easements that are within the park. There are just a handful, primarily one for ODOT at the upper left corner of the park area on this image. That'll go away as part of Oklahoma City's work with ODOT with the I-40 relocation. There is a few more utility easements in the Salvation Army block. Those will all go away once those utilities are relocated. And then ODOT has a few easements that are at the south end of the park, so that's over the far right edge of this image. Those will remain in place, and those will cover the retaining walls for the highway, as well as the bridge abutment for Skydance Bridge. Those will not have any effect on the park design, and so those will remain in place. The last part of the project will be to remove all the streets, sidewalks, and driveways that are within the street right-of-way. The shaded areas here represent the areas that we'll be taking out. I should point out that around Union Station and Skydance Bridge, the areas noted with a number 1 and a keynote, those will be modified with the construction of the park under Phase 2 of the park when it comes time for that to come online. So we're going to leave those in place today so that immediately and for the foreseeable future until the park comes along, we'll still have access to Union Station and Skydance Bridge right there. The anticipated budget for the project, what we show here are two projects. One is for the site work and the public storm sewer work, with a total cost of $1.9 million. The second project would be for the city's water lines and sanitary sewers. It has also a projected estimate of $1.9 million. That makes a total of $3.86 million for relocation of all of the city's utilities and demo of the streets and roadways that are out there. For their anticipated schedule with the completion of the preliminary report, we'll move immediately in June into preparation of construction documents for both projects. Project 1, the finishing schedule is to be determined at this point. They're pending some coordination issues with the construction of the boulevard, as well as working out the lease for the Salvation Army. Project 2, we anticipate having final plans complete in August of this year and having a contractor under contract in November. We estimate about a 9-month construction window for that project, and it'd be complete in August of 2014. Right-of-way vacation, that'll proceed immediately also in June. That will be complete in January of next year. And then we'll follow on immediately behind that with the plat vacation, which will be complete in April of 2014. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Salvation Army that complex is actually owned by the city, and Salvation Army is leasing that. Salvation Army is working on vacating or leaving that and building a new facility. So there's some discussion there on exactly when they're going to get out of there.
Their lease is supposed to expire at the beginning of 2014, but it looks like their building won't be ready. So it'll probably be midsummer before they're able to leave those facilities.
Chris, if we can go back to the slide with the electric utilities, please. We did talk about some of this yesterday in our park subcommittee, but rather than wait till a report later, I thought it might be a little bit more top of mind to do it now. One of the charges that City Council has given the park subcommittee is to address the OG substation.
Mm-hmm, sure.
If it were to remain in its current location, We've been asked to come up with various ways to screen it and mitigate the look of that so that it doesn't impede the park design or even future development around it. And so yesterday, we talked about the percentage of power that will be relocated from that substation. Can you share that again for everyone today?
Certainly. From the substation serves all of downtown and Bricktown. And so out of the substation and through the park and through the convention center site is an underground primary feed. And that feed serves the entire west half of downtown. So that's a third of the power that comes out of the substation, goes through the park and also through the convention center. The other two runs go east out of the substation and serve the east half of downtown as well as Bricktown. And those are being relocated and updated as part of the boulevard improvements where the boulevard crosses Shield. They're proposing to lower the boulevard in that intersection. OG&E is working with those guys to relocate their facilities there. So all in all, OG&E is having to relocate and reroute all of their three feeds that come out of the substation.
So with that information, our Parks Subcommittee had some discussion whether this might be an opportune time for OG&E to seriously visit moving the substation, especially with the fact that that substation is pretty much at capacity now for the current development that is there. And certainly, as we've all seen, ideas and plans for what is going to happen around the park development, I could see nothing worse than having OG&E have to relocate all those lines and then in a very short time period have to come back and relocate another substation or build another substation, more state-of-the-art, something that would provide more power to the entire grid as it's going to be much larger than today. So I would hope that very strongly we're looking at those possibilities as it makes sense in moving forward. I understand when that decision was first made, it was based on all the information and the facts that we had. But as we've all known, these projects are fluid. And as we're moving forward now, I think we have more information on possible development around it, future possibilities, and again, just hate to see them move it once and then in a couple of years down the road have to move it twice. So I hope we're looking at that strongly.
Certainly, and no doubt with all of the relocations required, if there was ever a good time to do it, it's certainly now. You're welcome.
Any comment, David? All right. Are there other questions? Kim, I know that you all heard this report. You and Mike and others heard this report yesterday. Any comments you want to add, or are we ready to recommend this resolution?
Ending on a high note, I think our original estimates for this project were about $6 to $7 million, and you can see we've come in under that. So we're very pleased to hear that respect. And this was approved unanimously at our subcommittee yesterday. And I would love to move that we do that same today.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded then that we adopt this resolution approving the preliminary report for the Upper Park. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. Item 6, David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I recommend resolution approving amendment number 1 with Johnson Associates Incorporated for MAPS 3 Upper Downtown Public Park Engineering Services fee increase of $260,000, project M3-P004. On the heels of this preliminary report, we need to amend their contract so that they can actually do the design for the things that you just heard about, the water lines and the street removals and those things. It was in 2 pieces because the investigation needed to be done first before we could determine what that fee needed to be and the scope of work. So this is a resolution for amendment for those services.
So this is not an increase. It is more just taking the next step in the process. Correct. Not an increase in cost, but
it is
the next step.
It is an increase in cost as far as their contract. It's not necessarily an increase in scope. We always knew we were going to have to do these. We had to identify them.
All right.
Again, this was passed unanimously at the Park Subcommittee level yesterday, and I so move we do so today.
Is there a second? Been moved and seconded that we adopt the resolution shown on item 6. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Resolution is approved. Item 7, David.
Item 7 is recommend resolution approving final specifications for MAPS 3 downtown public park mowing, weed eating, weed control, and debris removal, and authorizing the city clerk to advertise for bids to be received on June 18th, 2013, project M3-P009. As you'll see later, we pretty much own all the land in the park, so now we're responsible for making sure that it stays mowed. We've been using a city contract, but there's also some other things that need to be done down there. There's concrete debris and various things out there that make some of the mowing a little difficult. So staff has put together these specifications to get bids to mow and to remove some of that debris, and also to get up in the parking lots where it's the weeds are growing through cracks, and just keep it looking nice, and also to stay within city ordinance as far as what we're required to do. So we're asking for approval of these specifications.
Kim, your committee heard this report yesterday?
Yes, we did, and we moved it for approval with the addition of an addendum asking that following the tree study that was done, there are several trees that were deemed either, I believe, for the type of species, the disease, their age, that they be removed, and we asked that that verbiage be added to this so that it would be a possible addition to them looking at removing those trees that might impede any of these services and make them more costly.
And Mr. Chairman, what we'll do is we'll issue, if this is approved today, we'll issue an addendum to include that, and then when it comes back for contract award, you can approve that addenda and,
right,
and also award of contract.
Right. Any questions of Kim or David? All right.
I would make a motion that we approve.
Been moved that we approve this resolution. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Item 8, David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 8 is a recommend resolution ratifying and approving addendums numbers 1 and 2 for MAPS 3 Downtown Public Park Demolition Package 3, awarding contract to K&M Dirt Services, LLC, DBA K&M Wrecking, LLC, in the amount of $83,935, and approving contracts and bonds, project M3-P010. This is for the next block of buildings. If you've been down there, you see that first block that was by Skydance has been cleared. It's really opened up the park. It's really starting to look like the expanse of land that it is. This is that next group of buildings that is directly north of that area. This is the buildings that the fire department has been doing training in. So we'd ask that you approve this contract.
Subcommittee have a recommendation?
There was their recommendation. They approved it, and I would so motion that we do today.
Second? Been moved and seconded that we adopt the resolution. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It's approved. Item 9.
Item 9 is recommend resolution approving change order number 3 for MAPS 3 Oklahoma River Race Course lighting improvements, increase of $107,418, project M3-R002. You can see in your packet the actual change order. This is one of the projects that we have under construction. You can see that there's different items on here. There's some embankment to be added that the Boathouse Foundation has asked so that it makes access to the poles in future days easier. There were some unknown items like irrigation lines that we don't have records of, and as much as the engineers and architects try to locate these things, that you just can't find everything that's buried underground. So these are routine items that are found during construction. There's some service point movement, and then also there's a fence enclosure. The fence enclosure that we had on there was a stockade fence. The Boathouse Foundation envisioned something a little fancier, so we've pulled that out. That is actually a credit. And continuing on, there was an unknown electrical line underneath the boat ramp that was damaged, and that's to repair that. Item number 6 is pretty much a routine item because I remember when we bid this, there were questions about the detailed bid form that we do and the itemized numbers, and this is where this comes into play because the drilled shafts went further and we'd already established numbers for that, so there's 17,206 for additional numbers. There's a service point number 6 credit that is being taken out because of the Whitewater facility, and it'll be put in at a later time. Water line relocation, again, a water line that didn't know the exact location of that, and this is to repair that and move it. Then item number 9 is there were some issues with the heights of the poles. They don't affect the performance of the lighting, but because the poles are specially ordered, we chose to take this extended warranty instead of fighting the fight about 10 feet of 6 poles and waiting another year to get poles and all that. So that's what the extended warranty is. So these are typically routine construction items for the race course lighting. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions? Dr. Griffin?
Yes, I have questions regarding the timing. You're changing the date from July 29th to May 15th. Is that the completion date? Or I was a little confused on those dates.
Yes, actually, it is backing up the time. We did a negotiations with the contractor, and they were going to be finished before, and this is just to make an agreement that this is when it will be done. So the agreement is now that it will be finished on May 15th. Of course, we may be coming with you soon with an amendment to that because of the issues with the storm, because OG&E is part of this project, getting power, and they've been down there working, but now I believe they've got all people working on storm repairs. And the contractor can't continue to work until they have all the power that's in there. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. But right now we've got it planned for May 15th.
May 15th, 2013?
I see where you're getting. So
Yeah.
I don't know, Wayne, can you help me on the date on that? I've lost track of what day it is.
Well, it's past May the 15th, I think. Sure.
Yeah.
And your question specifically deals with?
The completion date that's May 15th.
Completion date.
Okay, so as David said, we did negotiate with the contractor and trying to push that date a little further ahead or behind than what it was. It was broadcasted out in July, and it was kind of pushed out further than it really needed to be in part of our negotiation. With this change order, we got the contractor to agree to what we felt was the actual completion date.
But today is May 23rd.
Should this be June? I think the date on this should be it should be June 15th, shouldn't it?
The date we agreed to was May 15th.
But they're still not complete.
Correct.
Then how does the liquidated damages provision come in? Who pays whom what if we're now past that date and it's not completed?
Mr. Chairman, my understanding is that part of the negotiated agreement that is done with the contractors, they agreed to start accruing liquidated damages, understanding that the now completion date is May 15th, that they'll try to work as quickly as possible to get the project wrapped up, but they are accruing liquidated damages.
Okay.
And as David said, those liquidated damage, we will have to evaluate the process of OG&E. OG&E has not provided service to all the poles and service points at this time. So that would be part of our evaluation of that process.
Okay.
So liquidation damages started May 15th.
Correct.
Wayne, while you're there, I understand that we're having an event has been planned for June the 29th. Which one of the reasons it was planned was because of the accelerated completion date, and that's there's some big event going on the river, and there is a planned dedication celebration of the lighting on June the 29th, the Saturday. Is that right?
That is correct. The Boathouse District has an event to coincide with the kind of the celebration of turning the lights on where everybody can see what it's actually going to look like for night racing.
Okay. And that might be a nice date for everyone to put on their calendar, June the 29th. I think it starts at 8:30 p.m. to make sure, well, it'll be dark. And so we're planning on turning on the lights before we knew about the storm of this week. So we'll just see, but that would be a date for you to put on your calendar. Anything else you want to add, David or Wayne? Any other questions? Then shall we approve this resolution, approving the change order? It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve this resolution. Further discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The amendment is approved. Item 10. David?
Item 10 is recommend resolution ratifying and approving addendum number 1 for MAPS 3, Phase 1, Project 1, sidewalk improvements, awarding contract to SAC Services Incorporated in the amount of $1,038,311 and approving contract and bonds Project M3-W001. This is our first group of sidewalks. If you remember, we have 2 phases, and within those phases we have 2 to 3 projects, and this is that first project. We're very glad that we're ready to start building some sidewalks.
Right.
And just as a point, Mr. Chairman, the contracts hadn't actually been signed at the time that it was processed for this board, and so what you'd be approving is the form of the contract recommending that go on so long as it's not substantially changed before it gets to council.
Okay. So what we're doing then is approving the contract. Okay. Are there questions? The Trails and Sidewalk Committee considered this. I was at the meeting. Sue Hooper was there at the meeting as well, and I think I'd be fair in saying, wouldn't I, David? Pete was there, I think, as well, maybe, but I was there, and I think that their committee favorably considered this.
They did. They unanimously approved. Well, yeah, they within their group agreed that it should be sent on to the advisory board.
All right, then. Anyone want to move we approve this resolution? It's been moved. Is there a second? Been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution. Further discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is approved. Item 11.
Item 11 is recommend resolution approving preliminary report for MAPS 3 Phase 1, Project 2 sidewalks improvements, Project M3-W001A. This is a continuation of Phase 1, as I just mentioned. This would be Project 2. And we have Craig Wallace with Smith Roberts Baldischweiler here to give us a quick presentation.
Well,
good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members, Mr. Todd. Appreciate being able to come before you to make this presentation of, again, Phase 1, Project 2 of the sidewalk improvements. I'll click through. Help me out. Are we working? Okay, gotcha. This is the initial alignments within Phase 1 from the sidewalk master plan. It shows alignments 1 through 17, and then also 17 through 43, which are the anticipated alignments both in Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the projects. Our Phase 1 map shows anticipated alignments 1 through 17, which we felt like would be able to be accomplished within the budget amount for Phase 1. Project 1, which you just approved the contract of, was the 7 alignments geographically located in the northwest side of town. The different alignment numbers were approved in Phase 1 or constructed in Project 1 of Phase 1. Because of that geographical area, we felt like we had gained some benefit in letting that contract in a geographical area. This Project 2 shows 7 additional alignments which are geographically located in the southwest part of Oklahoma City, again, in an area where we felt like would be advantageous for letting and the contractor being able to construct those in close proximity. We do have 3 additional alignments in the Phase 1 contracts, which are May Avenue, 3 miles of May Avenue. Now, having received the bids for Project 1, we have a better idea of understanding of where our costs will be. Hopefully, we will be able to pick up a few alignments in our Project 3 in order to use a budget for this Phase 1 project. This actually shows the table from the master plan for Phase 1 alignments, understanding that the 7 that are listed above were led on Project 1. The area that's highlighted, or the table that's highlighted by the red outline is Project 2, and then Project 3, we added a few alignments anticipating some additional sidewalk to be constructed in that. Just a few quick photos to identify some of the issues, both that goes along with the criteria rating that shows connectivity. One of these pictures on the right shows that we're about 250 feet from existing structure. This is part of one of the alignments, and obviously part of one of the criteria was connectivity. We'll be able to connect that. We also have a few challenges within these. Some of the ramps and the ADA ramps that are being constructed as part of our bond issues, we'll connect to those and continue the sidewalks through that area. Intersections, trying to meet the ADA requirements on that, improving the ped poles as well as pedestrian signals will add to that. Some of these other alignments show some challenges within the right-of-way. It also shows the bus route, again, was an additional criteria that we used from the master plan in order to identify the priorities. Again, this is a connectivity issue, as well as you can see the bus stop, or the bench there along the bus stop, which we were trying to pick up on transit routes. It's hard for me to see, but on the picture on the right, you can see that preferred paths, as we know them as we drive through the city, where people travel and there's no sidewalk. This one has obviously become a preferred path to a dirt trail. I mean, you can see that it's been used so much that the grass is worn off of it, and obviously you can see that there's a need for a sidewalk in this location. We do have a few challenges. On the left, you can see where we're tying to existing structure on a drainage structure where there will be required a retaining wall. Some slopes are challenges, but these are all anticipated engineering challenges of this project. This is a quick summary of how the budget fits within the different alignments and the cost fit within the length of sidewalk that's being built. Without going through each one of these bullet points, some of these can be corrected. Obviously, Phase 1, Project 1, the original estimated construction cost was about $1,437,000. The engineer estimate had been adjusted to about $1,237,000, getting a bid of $1,038,000. We can see that our actual construction cost per foot of sidewalk is improved, which is encouraging for us and should be for the board and city, that we may be able to construct more of the sidewalk. Our Phase 1, Project 2 estimated construction cost, $1,065,000. And then again, we feel like we'll be able to do additional alignments within Project 3 of this Phase 1 sidewalk. Preliminary report was presented in April. We will be turning in 95% plans and construction specifications next week. We will have, the city will review that, return it to us, where we'll have the final plan submitted in June, bids received 1st of July, and then hopefully award a contract sometime in August. And any questions?
Anyone have questions? The sidewalk subcommittee did consider this week. Sue was there and conducted the meeting. I was there, and I think that they sent it forward to us asking that it be approved. Am I right about that, David?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right, so this is a resolution approving the preliminary report for Phase 1, Project 2. Do you have any other questions about it? Shall we approve it? It's been moved that we approve it. Is there a second? Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved.
Thank you.
Item 12, David.
Item 12 is recommend resolution approving contract for engineering services with Cardinal Engineering Incorporated for MAPS 3 sidewalks Phase 2 improvements, fee of $335,920, project M3-W002. Continuing on with the sidewalks, this is the Phase 2 that I talked about. So the firm of Cardinal Engineering went through the usual procedure with selection of an engineer. So we're asking that we award the contract for them to start on Phase 2 of the sidewalks.
Any questions of David on that? Well, this too was considered by the subcommittee and was moved forward to and asking us to approve it.
That is correct.
It's been moved that we approve it. Is there a second? Been moved and seconded. Further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The recommended resolution is approved. David, any additional discussion or action for the MAPS 3 program under item 13?
No, sir.
All right. That brings us to item 14, the subcommittee reports. Kim, you were busy, you and Mike this week. Anything else you want to add?
Actually, I do have a few things. We did have a very action-packed meeting yesterday and kept it in a very timely fashion, but there were a couple things that I'd love to share. Next month, we anticipate receiving the master plan design from Hargraves and Associates. So there are some things that we do have top of mind that we're thinking about, and we may find some of these when that master plan is unveiled to us. But certainly, we talked about the OG&E substation, which I mentioned earlier. We also talked about the utility relocation timetable as it compares to the current timetable for MAPS 3 Park Phase 1 plan. And how that goes together. Also in coordination with the Boulevard timetable. Originally, when we split the parks into Phase 1 and Phase 2, the goal was that the area that abuts the Boulevard and all along the edge of Robinson, or the westward vision as you're coming into town, would be complete with the opening of the Boulevard in the end of 2014. Now that Boulevard timetable isn't quite exactly there, we may need to revisit the timetable for Phase 1 on the parks. But again, when the master plan comes out from Hargraves, those things may be already things they've thought about, but we're thinking about it nonetheless. We're interested in seeing the discussions continue with ODOT on the disposition and possibilities for land that they still own within the park. We're very excited about a possibility of a workshop with the Convention Center Subcommittee in the not too distant future as the Hargraves Master Plan for the park is unveiled, and we're beginning to see things formulate more for the Convention Center so that our projects are spending a little bit more time together. And then I think finally we're all just very excited to see ways that we can begin using the park during construction and get people acclimated to the fact that this is a really neat place that we can start enjoying even before it's complete.
Any questions for Kim? Okay, thank you. Bob, anything you want to add about the State Fair Park?
We did not meet this month, so I have no report.
All right. I will mention, with respect to the Convention Center, we did not meet this month either, but you'll recall that we reported last month that it looked like the location, the site that had been selected was large enough to accommodate what we need, and it looked as though we could substantially achieve our goals within the budget that's been provided. So those were all good things, and it was sent back to the architectural design people. They presented us 3 options, and there were some suggestions about changes in those options, and even a hybrid considered. And so they're back to the drawing board, and weren't ready for us to consider that this month, but that's still a work in progress. And anyone else want to have anything about, Mike, you want to tell us anything about the Senior Wellness Center?
Well, it's been a long and laborious process, as you all know. We met a couple of weeks ago and interviewed the applicants for the first wellness center. We spent probably 5 hours, David, that afternoon So we spent a lot of time, and quite frankly, there wasn't enough time. And so we have decided that we are going to have another sit-down with the applicants and address some other concerns and questions that we have, so we'll be better informed when it comes time to bring a recommendation to this board from the subcommittee.
Were you encouraged? I know that you had issued a new RFP and changed it. And
yeah, I think we were encouraged. Again, I think we were encouraged at the level of interest. But having said that, we know how important it is to get this first one right.
Sure.
Not to suggest that the others aren't important to get us right, but we want to fully go through this process a little bit further. And so again, we will. I think those interviews will be conducted early June, and so we will take that hopefully recommendation from that group to the Senior Wellness Center subcommittee, and then of course to this body in June.
Wonderful. Okay. No further subcommittee reports. David, item 15, the informational items.
You can see in your packet there is a map of the park properties. Essentially, the park properties have all been purchased. There's two different colors of land. Well, there's three different colors, but the two that don't match the dark blue is the top, and there's the old ramp from I-40, which ODOT owns. There's some title issues and easement issues that are still being worked out to get that transferred from ODOT to the city. And then down on the bottom, the land is included in a land swap deal with ODOT. So we're just trying to get that resolved. But once we get that resolved, Ms. Lowe can have her blue cupcake party she wants to have.
Blue cupcake party?
Once we have all the properties turned blue. As far as item B, this is just information on property that's being purchased for the trails.
Okay. Any questions about either one of those informational items? Okay, David, that brings us to your update and status report. Anything to add?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. On the river, I want to remind you, as we talked about earlier, that the rowing race course lighting is nearing completion. The windscreen is in design. The whitewater facility is in design. And Phase 2 improvements are in design. So there's a lot going on at the river right now. Some under construction and a lot in design. Senior Wellness, as Mr. Dover mentioned, the RFP process continues. Trails and sidewalks, you saw the bids for the Phase 1, Project 1, and the continued design for Phase 1, and we'll soon be starting Phase 2 with the engineer that was approved today and will go on to council for approval. 2 sections of the river trails are in design, and right-of-way acquisition continues on those. Convention Center, the conceptual design continues, and meetings continue also between the Convention Center and the park and the streetcar designers. The fairgrounds Phase 1 grading has been completed, and Phase 1 parking improvements have begun, and the Expo Center design continues. On the streetcar, the analysis of the alignment continues, analysis of the Adventure Line continues, and there was a public meeting held on May 9th that was well attended, and that was to educate the public on the streetcar and how it might look and how it might function. That was a very good meeting. And then, as Ms. Lowe mentioned on the park, design of the master plan continues. Hopefully that will be wrapping up next month, and demolition continues with the buildings that we've acquired down there.
Any questions for David? All right, then. We'll go to item 17, comments by the board, staff, or citizens. Councilman White, we frequently at this point ask our city council representative if there's any message from the council that you all would want to deliver to your servants here.
Since this is my first meeting, I think I'll follow the advice that I give new council members, and that they need to be quiet for a while until they learn what's going on. So I think I appreciate being here, and I'm looking forward to this year. It's something that all of us are very concerned about and want it to work, and so I look forward to this year.
We're delighted to have you on the Citizens Advisory Board, and look forward to working with you as well. We, as you can tell, lots of moving parts here, and we're all doing our best to keep it moving in the right direction.
Well, I should add that it would be very presumptuous of me to try to speak for the council. I see there's another councilman in the room, and I'd have to clear it with him. At least he and I'd have to agree on it before I decided to speak for the council.
Well, he was our first colleague on this, and he was equally hesitant to speak for the council.
Right.
Anyway, we really appreciate you being here. And any other members have a comment? Staff? Anyone else? Amanda, are we doing okay? Okay. Mike and Nicole, anything to add? All right, then we want to open it for any citizens that are here that might want to make a comment. If not, shall we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. We adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It is adopted. We are adjourned. Thank you.
I'm so sorry about that one.